All right. So, as always, I do have something to talk about today, and we're going to start off with you because we want to make sure just because I think it's important doesn't mean you do, although it is. So, we're going to start off as normal by asking you what your struggles have been, or a topic that we've been talking about a lot. I know it was touched on in group coaching this week. It's something that I'm actually going to visit one of the market centers and have a whole class on soon. And I will be visiting market centers next month. And if this is something that you would like to see a class on, or if something else, please let me know, because when I come in person, I want to make sure that it's valuable because I don't get to get out there as much as I'd like to. Okay, so what is it that you guys are struggling with or have coming up that you would like some help around that we could all mastermind around as a group to help one another?
I'll go.
Okay.
Time management. I've talked about a little bit in our momentum group coaching yesterday already. I'm always trying to schedule for things and all that, but I have realized that I'm task switching too much. So I spent the time last week or the week before and schedule everything in my calendar and time block everything. And really trying to stick with that, because I feel like before I would just move things around a little too much. And I've tried to do the 4-1-1 and had a little bit of trouble with that. I think I already talked to Lori about that a little bit, and Brittany actually too. Just how it's set up in KW and in command was a little weird. I think I still did it, and just kind of trying to really because I feel like there are a couple of things that I keep not doing because they never feel urgent and important, and I deal with the very important things. And then there's the stuff that I feel like I still haven't done, which I don't know. I just feel like I could be more efficient. Yeah.
So in regard to that, what portion of that, and because that's a lot, and what portion of that is it that you really want to key in on?
Well, I guess the kind of the breakdown, I think I haven't really understood the 4-1-1 and how to really use that. I don't know that that's like probably not a good mastermind topic, but maybe where to find information on that.
It actually is a really good topic to mastermind around. And I know, I don't remember who it was, but I did see somebody talk about that in group coaching this week, the urgent and important. And I have one that I would want to pull up. There we go. I don't know if that's the perfect one. It doesn't matter. That we can talk about as well. So first of all, when we say 4-1-1, does everybody here understand what that means? And it's not calling information. Does that still exist? Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what's that.
Okay. So when we set goals, and we all know the importance of setting goals, right? We all know that setting goals in this business is incredibly important, because if we don't have something to work towards, what are we doing with our time, right? And so a lot of people will come into this business, and so forgive me for a second, Val, while I kind of go backwards a little bit to set the stage, and then I promise to get there. So a lot of people will come into this business, and I can't tell you how many people I talk to, and I ask, what do you want to do this year? And inevitably 90+% of people say, I want to make $100,000. Have you been that person? You don't have to fess up to it if you have been. But here's the thing. Why do you want to make $100,000? What's that going to do for you? Is that enough to pay your bills and reach your goals? Is that even what you should be shooting for? They'll also say, well, I want to close 6 deals my first year, or 1 a month, having no idea what that means to them financially. They just think closing a deal a month is a good idea. Okay, well, that's all great to have something in mind. When we set a goal, we need to have a reason for the goal, right? So has everyone on this call thought about, what do I need to make this year? Okay, first of all, what do I personally need to contribute to my household to pay the bills? Whether that's you're the sole supporter, whether that's you're part of the support, or maybe you're none of the actual support of the household, but you're doing other things. Okay, so first of all, how much do I need to make to support my family for the year? Okay, next, do I have debt that I want to get rid of? And how much is my debt? Can I get rid of it in 1 year? Will it take 2, 3, 5? If that's the case, how much do I want to get rid of this year? Right? And we need to add that to the amount of money that we need to make to support our household. Do we want to go on vacation this year? Is that in our household budget, or do I need to make X dollars more to be able to go on a vacation this year? So whatever your circumstances are, we add all of this up, right? Then we have to factor in our cost of sale and our expenses, right? So when we get, and we're not going to go into that today, that's a whole other discussion, okay? We could have a whole class on that, but you have to have a number to shoot for. And is $100,000 enough? Is closing one a month enough? Does it hit that number? So we don't want to just be pulling numbers out of the air. We want to make sure that we're creating our life by design, right? Not a let's just hope and see what happens. We were reminded at leadership camp last week, hope is not a strategy, right? So, and yet so many people just sit back and hope, right? That's why over 70% of agents leave the business in 2 years, because they don't set goals. They don't do this business with a purpose. And that's why we're here to help you do that. Okay, so now that being said, you have a goal set. Now you create a business plan around that goal. And those of you in coaching all have one, whether you're using the one we initially gave you, whether you've created one of your own based on your own goals, you have a business plan. That's what we refer to as the GPS or the 1-3-5, right? Goals, priorities, strategies, 1 goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies. Now, from that, we get to the 411. Okay. Now you can do a 411 any way you want to. You can write it on a piece of paper. You can have it on a spreadsheet. You can have it on an official document that we have in the toolkit. What it is, it's the 1 is your 1 goal. Okay. So we're going to do this backwards. 114. 1 is your main goal. So that comes straight from your business plan. Okay.
So would the 1 goal then be close 6 transactions, or is the 1 goal 1 transaction?
No, the 1 goal is your yearly goal. So if your goal for the year is 6 transactions,
okay,
then that's the 1. Okay. That's one of the ones. Okay. Now the second one is monthly. So we need to break down on a monthly basis. What do we need to do? So let's use 6 transactions. Okay. If we're going to do 6 transactions, we need to close a half a transaction a month. Well, obviously we're not going to close a half transaction, but every 2 months we need to be closing 1, right? So let's use 12 for easy math. 12 transactions, 1 a month. Now let's throw a caveat in there. If we're going to do this properly, how much time are you going to take off this year? Are you going to take 4 weeks off this year? If you are, you're going to divide your goal by 11 months, not 12. Because if you divide by 12 and you take time off, you won't be on target potentially for your goal. You won't know what you need to do to hit that goal by the end of the year. Okay. Now the 4 of the 411, because it kind of goes, from the bottom up, 411. The 4 is the average 4 weeks per month. So each week you're going to break down, what do I need to do this week to move me closer to my monthly goal that moves me closer to my yearly goal? Now in doing that, we're not going to do a 411 and fill out 4 weeks of activity. Because let's say we need to make 50 contacts this week in order to get to our goal. But let's just say life happened. We only made 40 contacts this week. That's great. And that's going to put us behind our goal if we don't make that up. So when we plan next week, how many contacts do we need to make?
60.
60, right. Now we can do over the next 2 weeks, 55 and 55, right? But the point is, if you know your numbers, and this is why we have you track your numbers. And when you get to momentum, you get a tracker that tracks your numbers. This is why. So if you have a week where we're not making the goal for the week, it's not, oh, well, better luck next time. Right? It's okay. Well, we got some things to make up. So where are we going to put this in and get it done? Now, don't forget, if we're taking those 4 weeks off, we're not dividing our goals by 52, right? We're dividing our goals by 48 or whatever your number is. So when we come to things like our spring break and our winter break and summer vacations and whatever other people do, whatever your vacations are, I don't care if you take 6 months off a year, as long as you work your butt off the 6 months you're working and make your goals, right? That's the beauty of this business. But that's how we set goals. We hold ourselves accountable with a business plan, and then we keep ourselves accountable to the business plan with the 411. Now, ideally, you're going to take the week from your 411 and you're going to put that in your calendar that week. Okay. So if it's, I have to make 50 contacts this week and you're going to lead generate 5 days, you got to make 10 contacts a day, right? If you're only lead generating 2 days that week, you got to make 25 contacts in those 2 days. So the 411 items, this is not busy work stuff. This is goal producing, income producing activities that must go in your calendar. Okay, Val?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, because I have a hard time feeling accomplished at the moment because it's hard to do a deal, you know. I mean, it's yay if you close the transaction, but other than that, it's kind of like a little long dry spell sometimes. So my struggle was, so the goal is, let's say 12 transactions a year, that's 1 a month, so then, but what you just said was the conversation. So what I have to, I just had a hard time putting the goal, like what do I put in my calendar? Because it doesn't help to put in, I want to make, 0.25 transactions this week. Like that's not a goal, right? So the conversations would be a goal, but would I then break down the conversations 411 as well, or?
Yeah. So if your goals state that you need to make 200 contacts in the month, you're going to break that down to 50 a week, right? Now, how do you know how many contacts you need to make? You know that by tracking your numbers. So in the beginning, you won't have your number. You won't have your number till you have consistently tracked your activity for 6 to 12 months. In the meantime, use the averages, right? The averages are 50 to 100 conversations a week are going to get you business. So once you've tracked regularly for 6 months, what are your numbers, right? How many transactions did you close in that amount of time? How many appointments did you go on? How many did you set versus how many you went on? How many people did you have to talk to set that many appointments? And then that's how you figure your conversion rates, and how after your first year of business, if you're tracking like we're telling you to, you will know your numbers, because everyone's can be different, right? It depends on your circumstances. It depends on your choice of lead generation. Depends on a lot of different things. It depends on your own personal goals, right? Maybe somebody wants to close 24 years. Somebody wants to close 12. Somebody wants to close 6. Somebody wants to close 48. So those numbers are going to be all over the board. That's why you need to know your personal goals, priorities, strategies, your numbers. So when we give you that tracking sheet that looks like, oh my gosh, what is this? What do you mean they want me to fill this out every week? This is just busy work. It's not. It's how you will know your numbers so that you can properly set your goals and reach them. We're not ever going to give you busy work. Trust me. I am all about working smarter, not harder, right? I'm all about hard work. Don't misunderstand that statement. But where there's a way to work smarter rather than harder, shouldn't we go that route, right? Because we want a life by design. This is the fastest way to get you to work smarter, not harder. Because also in that tracking sheet, what you're going to see is, let's just say in 1 month, I had 200 real estate conversations, and I religiously asked 200 people for a referral, and you got 0. What's the problem? Where's the gap? Right? I don't expect you to get 200 referrals, but if you asked 200 times and didn't get any, we've probably got a conversation issue we have to talk about and overcome and rethink, right? So not only does it help us know our numbers, but it helps us fill in the gaps and see where we could use some help. And it helps us be able to coach you to better build your business. See how that one little thing takes you 2 minutes to fill out every week if you stay on top of it? Is so valuable. It's such a valuable tool. So please, please, please make sure you're using it, because that's going to give you simple breakdown. We've even made it so easy where as long as you fill in one line and then you fill in the weeks, the math takes care of itself. So use that as a guide, use that as a help. And then as you see your progress and you see things working, that's going to help you stay in your calendar, because you're like, oh, this works. I need to do this, right? And what's interesting is we talk about calendaring a lot because it's the simplest thing to do and the hardest thing to stick to, right? Anybody disagree with that? We can write stuff in our calendar all day long. Oh my gosh, my calendar's amazing this week. How much of it do you really do? Right? So a couple things. Gary Keller says, master the morning. If you master the morning, and that means you get up, you do what you need to do to have a good day. For everybody, it's different, whatever kind of affirmations or personal study or meditation or getting ready, the cup of coffee, whatever your morning routine is, right? And then preparing for your lead generation and lead generating. And doing all of that before 11 or 12, the rest of the day will take care of itself. But the key to mastering the morning, anybody know what it is?
Set your day for success.
It is to set your day for success, but you've also got to protect it. In other words, do not let the little things of the day creep in there. Because if you have an interruption that's a 2-minute interruption, you think, no big deal. But how long does it take to reset your mind to get back on track from a 2-minute interruption? On average, for most people, what, Manuel?
Oh, because you lose momentum. That 2 minutes throws everything up, right?
Absolutely.
I
Most
got you.
people, it takes 5 to 7 minutes to recover from a 2-minute interruption. So now it's a 7 to 9 minute interruption. That's if they're able to recover. If you're at a point in your business where you're having trouble getting yourself to make phone calls, to do your social media, to lead generate, and you have that 2-minute interruption, that could be all it takes to kill it for the day. And then where are you at with your goals? So the key is no email, no texting, no phone calls outside of lead generation, right? So I should say no texting or email outside of lead generation. Turn your do not disturb on your phone. If you have kids or a family and you're freaked out about what I just said, because, oh my gosh, what if someone has an emergency? Put them in your favorites. They can still get through, and threaten them. If it's not an emergency, do not call me before this time. Right? I told my husband and my kids as they were growing up, if I don't answer the phone when you call, it's because I'm busy. Do not call me a second time unless there is a true emergency. And all it took was for each of them to call me a second time once and have my reaction to learn not to do that again. So make sure that you're protecting that time. That time is your money-making time. Because interruptions will happen throughout the day. They're going to happen, but they should never happen during that time. And for those of you that are getting ready or have had your first transactions, another piece of advice with this is absolutely no working on your escrows before 11 a.m. Because what happens is most new agents that get their first and second escrow, they completely take their foot off the gas of lead generation because they somehow in their mind lie to themselves and convince themselves that it takes 24/7 for the 30 or 45 days of that escrow to handle that escrow, and they do absolutely nothing else in regard to their business. Almost every new agent lets this happen to them, no matter how many times we've told them not to. And then what happens when escrow closes? Pipeline's empty. His foot came off the gas. We had to start all over again. How long did it take you to get your first one? Do not take your foot off the gas. So I already know some of you are thinking, but Jodi, what if I get an email that says they need this right away because we need this in order to move on to the next step? I don't care. Guess how many people are copied on that same email? You have a lender, you have escrow, you have the escrow assistant, you probably have a lender's assistant, you have your TC. You have the other agent. The other agent probably has a TC or some kind of assistant. All these people are copied on this email. So if you do not touch your email and you go in after your lead generation time, 9 times out of 10, you will find that someone else already took care of the so-called fire. And you just went about your morning getting more appointments, getting more leads, and didn't have to worry about it. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, someone will handle it for you. Anything that's big of a fire, you've got a transaction coordinator to help. Most big fires come on the lending side. You've got the lenders there to help. Nothing's going to go wrong in the 2 hours you're going to set aside or 3 hours to lead generate. That I can promise you. Because let me ask you, those of you that have kids and you go to a child's school function, that you're in a play, your child is the star of the play. Are you going to have your phone on answering those calls and checking your email during that time? I don't think anybody is, right? Nobody thinks anything about that. But, oh man, I'm lead generating. I don't really want to do this. So let me check my email. Do not let that happen to you. And there are many agents that can confirm what I'm saying. Okay? Be mindful of that. Protect your morning, master the morning. And I challenge everyone on this call today for the next 4 days, 5 days, right? Because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, till our next call. And I want some feedback on this next week. Master your morning and tell me what a difference it makes next week. Okay. I'm not even telling you to master your whole day, just the morning, because it will take care of itself. Okay. Now, that being said, because I just talked about ignore your transactions during lead gen time, part of it should be if you're lead generating from 8:30 to 11:30, right? 11:30 to 12 or 12:30, do your business servicing before you go to lunch, before you go on to that next thing. Check your emails, take care of things, make sure everything's good. Go to lunch, start your afternoon. Have 2 time blocks a day when you start getting business, one in the late morning before lunch and one in the afternoon for your business servicing. Because when you start going on all those listing appointments that you're going to have, you're not going to be checking your email and your listing appointments, right? You're not going to care about what's going on in your transaction during your appointment. So treat the lead generation time to get those appointments the same way. Easier said than done, I know, and it can be done. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Okay, who's familiar with the urgent and important quadrant? I think some of you had it shared this week in coaching. But there's 4 different things, right? There's urgent, there's important but not urgent, and there's not important and urgent. Does that make sense? So a lot of things are important, right? A lot of things are not, they can be important but not urgent. What might that be? What would be an example of something that's important but not urgent?
Well, when I hear the 2 words important and urgent, I feel that urgent is time sensitive and important is just, I don't know how to differentiate, but it's just something, I don't want to use the same word to explain important. Yeah, I mean, the difference between important and urgent is that urgent is time sensitive.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's right. So if you have a listing appointment next week, say 5 days from now, is it important that you're prepared for it? Yes. Is it urgent to prepare for it? No, because it's 5 days away, right? Now, let's say you drop something off at the dry cleaner and you got to pick it up and they close in 15 minutes. Is that important?
No.
Probably not, unless it's, something you have to wear to a wedding tomorrow or something, right? But in general, day to day, it's probably not important. Is it urgent?
Yeah, because they are closing 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say you were lead generating this morning and somebody set an appointment for 4:00 this afternoon and you promised a CMA and a net sheet when you arrive at their house. What is that?
Important and urgent.
There you go. So when you use those definitions and those things, ask yourself, when an interruption comes to your day, first of all, ask yourself, is this important? And maybe it is. And if it is, you got another question to ask. Is it urgent? If it's not, it needs to wait. Doesn't take away the importance or significance of it. It just means it doesn't have to happen now and doesn't need to interrupt your momentum. Does that make sense? Any questions around that? Okay. Helpful, Val? Awesome. Hopefully that was helpful to everyone. And so this is something we talk about often. We'll talk about it many, many more times, because the thing is, you're always in a different place in your business. And so you're always going to have new types of interruptions, different types of things. Even when you think you've mastered your calendar, something will come up. It's a long time to do. It takes hard work and discipline, but it can be done. It absolutely can be done. But it also takes mindset, right? You have to want to do it. So keep those things in mind next time those things pop up that are getting in the way. Is it important? Is it urgent? Remember, that kind of goes along with the 4 Ds. You guys have heard me talk about that a few times, right? If it's urgent and important, we do it. If it's not urgent, not important, we can maybe even dump it, right? If it's important but not urgent, we can delay it, or we can delegate it. We don't always have to do everything. And sometimes we feel like we do. Anybody else have something they're struggling with or want to share for the good of the group? I have a question. So tell me, and I want a few of you to respond. What do you think about the market we're in? What do you think about the number of transactions that are happening and the business that's out there? And don't be shy. I want to know your actual thinking, your thoughts on this.
I think it's tough because such a big lack of inventory and like rising interest rates coming up, kind of scaring buyers away a little bit. And like all the education and kind of talking with buyers and kind of trying to not necessarily convince them, but just tell them like it's always a good time to buy. Like, don't necessarily worry about the interest rates, worry about your monthly payment. It doesn't necessarily work too much, and people are just very focused on high interest rates. And it's just a little tough right now.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I talked to some people. I think they are paying attention too much on those real estate agent on YouTube keep telling me, hey, I'm renting, don't buy it now. Wait, crash gonna happen, those kind of stuff. I think those in YouTube to make their money, but they're scaring some people off.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, to build off that, I'm doing cold calls, getting more people to answer. First of all, they're surprised that it's an actual person on the other end. But when I talk to them, what I'm doing is trying to see if they're interested in buying and selling, investing. Some of them I give them a CMA, comparative market analysis. I've gotten that far with a couple. But what they are saying is kind of what I've heard with Anthony and Mohammed is they're waiting for the market to crash. These are people who want to sell their house. They've been thinking about it, but they're willing to hold off on payments. And then maybe sell in a couple of years. And then the people that want to buy that come usually by referral or just by genuine human connection and social events, and then they're interested in buying, they're saying, you know, I'll wait for a while and everything. And as much as I try to get them through the mortgage lender to get them pre-approved, they still want to wait. So that's the way I feel the market.
Okay.
Everybody's waiting for a big cataclysm.
One that's not going to happen. Right? Anyone else have a thought?
I feel like it's like this conundrum, this like two opposites of it seems really slow. There's not enough inventory, and it's, you know, hard to get listings and that sort of thing. So that part seems slow, but we're back into 2021 and 2022 of 10 offers on a house.
Mhm.
So it's like that doesn't feel slow. So it's like these two competing sides of things. So some of it feels slow and some of it has that franticness back when you had to get an offer in the next 30 minutes or you were hosed.
Mhm. Okay. Everything that you guys are saying is valid thinking, right? And I was reminded of something that Gary Keller said at Mega Camp last year, because we've recently got emails to sign up for Mega Camp this year. And I'm going to play a 45-second clip for you. And then we're going to have a discussion around it. Okay. Because I think this is so important.
The only reason why we go, oh, it's tough, is because it wasn't as tough. It was better. But if you look at 5.1 and you go all the way back to 1990, 5.1 looks pretty dadgum good.
Yeah.
So perspective really matters. And so we tend to get caught up in this, oh my gosh, it's not as good as it was. But you have to remember that at 5.1, you're anywhere in that range. That's plenty of real estate being bought and sold to build fantastic businesses.
What do you think about that?
I wonder if that's corrected for population growth and for, I mean, I just think that in our area here, building lacks population growth. And so, I mean, coastal California and Santa Barbara and Ventura, it's just inventory is low because there's a housing crisis in general. So, I mean, that those numbers might be true, but I feel like for my local market, I do think that it's real. I mean, that's why prices don't fall and they keep rising, because inventory is actually low.
So here's the thing. While those numbers are national, they do reflect what's going on pretty much in everyone's market. Everyone's market right now has low inventory. It isn't just our areas, it's everywhere. And I'm reminded of this because I'm on calls all the time with people all over the country. I go to things and talk to people all over the country. So we're not unique in this. This is a problem affecting everyone. And there may be a pocket here or there that's doing better than another, but for the most part, we're all in this same boat. But the point about this is a lot of people have been discouraged because just a couple years ago, we were having a lot of sales going on, right? So I took a screenshot of that. Let me pull it up. So think about, 5.1 sales. This was 2022. And 2021, there was 6.1, right? 5.6 in the year before. But 5.1, look at 08, 10, 12. That's still better business than was happening then, right? 02 to 06, there was some climbing going on. But prior to that, I got into this business in 1997. So over here at the 4.4 mark, I have lasted in this business. There's plenty of business out there for everyone. We barely got back to what it was like when I started in 08 through 11, right? And since then, it's just gotten better. We had a little anomaly in 2021. But the point of this is, even though we're in a low inventory market, people still have to buy and sell. Even though interest rates are higher, people still have to buy and sell. That's never going to change. The only thing that changes is the people that don't have to buy and sell. They might wait a little bit, right? But in the world we're in, if they wait too long, they may wait themselves right back up into 10% interest rates. I don't know. I've not heard that's going to happen, but it could, right? We don't know. The other thing that I wanted to show you for perspective, oops, wrong one. Where did it go? Oh, that was the right one. It was just on the wrong page. Let me scroll to the page. Some of you have probably seen this before, but this is worth repeating because, again, this goes to perspective. And these are things you need to share with your clients. Okay? Because when people are afraid that the market is going to tank and you show them what's happening, what's been happening, nothing's changed except the type of market, whether it be a buyer's market, a seller's market, a balanced market. That's the only thing that's changed. Okay, so let's look at this to the interest rates. Now, I know I've shared this before. I don't know if all of you have seen it. This is from this last year's mega camp. And this was the state of the vision speech and what was happening. So we had an anomaly of very low interest rates for a few years. That had never happened before, and it's likely never to happen again. Okay. When you look at from 2012 for the last 10 years, the average rate was 3.8. But for how many years is this? 10, 20, 30, for 40 years in here? 5.97. But go back to even farther, 50 years, or is that 30 years and 50 years? 7.81 was the average. And look at how many of those years was way above the average. Okay, so all we're doing right now is going back into still below a 50-year average.
I mean, I can just jump in. It seems that like for the previous years, we're kind of used to like getting free money when it came down to the mortgages, because not to age myself, but I was like a toddler when, Manuel Noriega was president of Panama and the interest rates were like 15%. But now it's kind of frustrating because while we got used to like quasi free money with the interest rates being so low, we now look at the inventory of people who were like homeowners, and then now they're selling the house and they want, like, they're marking it up 83%, 85%. So, wherever they bought it, jumping up like 83%. And they did no renovations to it. The toilet, the kitchen is as old as I am. So you could imagine the hardware on that. So the inventory is low, as we said previously before, but the interest rates are not as bad as one would think, but it's just we were accustomed to free money in a way.
Exactly. And I've always said anytime interest rates are under 10%, they're good, right? When you look at history. Yeah. Here's the thing, and this is what I tell people. If somebody talks to me about interest rates, I say, well, the truth is for the last few years, we've just straight up been spoiled. There's no other way to describe it. Because historically, we've never had interest rates that low, and we never will again. So if somebody wants to continue paying for someone's mortgage and not build equity themselves, hey, more power to them. But if they want to start building equity, they need to live in reality, come back to reality, right? This is what it is. The interest rates are still not as high as the 50-year average.
In 2007, I believe 2006-07, when I was building or buying my first house, an interest rate was 6.5% or 7%. At that time, we thought it is low. because 10 years before that, it was 11 or 12%.
Oh, yeah.
I never seen in that time in 2006 or 7 anybody complain interest rate is high.
They didn't, because at that time they were all saying, oh my gosh, it's low. People were wanting to refinance into a 7% rate because it was so low.
But what's going to happen, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. It takes some time, maybe a couple of years, to people start facing reality.
It does. And it absolutely does. And that's why people are starting to come out of the woodwork again to buy, because we've been in this boat now for quite some time. And they're realizing, okay, they're not going to keep climbing. They kind of go up, but they come back down. You know, we're kind of leveling out a little bit here. What it's going to be next year at this time, who knows? But we're back in reality, right? And so, and for anybody that says, oh yes, but home prices are so much higher now than they were then. Okay. Yeah. How much money did you make back then? How much money do you make now? Right? So it's all relative. Yes, a house may be $200,000 or $300,000 more now than it was 20 years ago, but you're also making a heck of a lot more money than you were 20 or 30 years ago. Right? So that argument doesn't wash. It's all relative. Everything's increasing.
Yeah, worker cost probably not even $10 construction worker on 10 years ago, but now it is $25+.
Yeah. So we have to remember that while housing's up 2, 3, whatever times, so is income, right? Everything else is too. The bottom line is we have to know how to educate our clients. Now, does that mean they may be the most educated buyer in the world that everyone's still going to be able to buy? Not necessarily. And yet educating them can put them on the path to that, right? But if they just live in the world of headlines and run scared because of what the headlines are saying, they're not going to become buyers. And so we need to be that person that's going to educate them. And we also have to remember perspective, right? That's why Gary Keller spent so much time at Mega Camp talking about this. I realized that was a 45-second clip, but he spent a lot of time about that, because we as agents can lose perspective when we hear the headlines, when we hear our client after client whining and complaining and not listening to reason, right? We can lose perspective, but we have to keep our perspective, stay positive, educate people, and remember, there's just as much business today as there ever was. Remember, I've been in this business 25 years, and there is more business today than there was when I started, even with higher interest rates,
Because it
even
is
with
more,
a housing shortage.
it is more population, more demand.
Right. So whatever the reason, there's business out there to be had is the point, right? So don't get lost in, oh, the inventory's low, there's not enough business out there. There's plenty of business out there. And who's going to be the one to get it?
The ones who are there calling their SOI, friends, family.
Yeah. The ones who are out there prospecting and looking for it and having the conversations. The agents that are sitting back and hoping aren't going to be the ones to get it. And even though there is a lack of inventory right now, or a shortage of inventory is a better word, right? There's not a lack of, because there is inventory. There's a shortage of inventory, right? However, each of you after this call, look on your MLS. How many new listings came up this last week? How many listings came up this last month? How many of them were yours? And if they weren't, guess what? Next week, next month, there's still going to be listings coming up. Go make them yours. Get out of the mindset of housing shortage, lack of inventory, interest rates are high. Have the mindset of there's listings out there to be had and I'm going to go get them. Because what's the guaranteed paycheck in our current market?
Listing.
A listing. How many of you would rather make $120,000 in the same time as most people will make 20,000? How do you do that? I saw Emily mouth it. Go get listings. You can work with 5 sellers in the same amount of time as 1 buyer. A buyer is not a guaranteed paycheck. A buyer can be multiple offers, multiple showings, lots of time, lots of drudgery, right? And then they could get tired of it and decide to give up. And how much time have you spent with them? Go get a listing, and what's going to happen?
So I have a question on the same vein of thought, because I have worked with buyers right now, and I've had a couple buyers fall through the cracks. One of them was denied, a mortgage loan, and another one did not want to produce the documents that are needed to get the pre-approval. But even if it's, buyer's market, still getting a listing is much more in the probability that would be a guaranteed, finished transaction or paycheck, if you will.
Yeah, listings are key. I mean, Gary Keller said it himself, the 3 F's: leads, listings, leverage. Listings are the key to success in this business. Listings are the key to a huge income in this business. And there's lots of people out there getting listings. So go get in their way and go get them. Change your conversations. Make them listing focused. How many of you would like, if when we come around in person, to do a listings workshop? And would attend in person and actually do work in the workshop if we had it? Okay. I'm going to put that on my radar. It'll be a little bit, but I will put that on the radar. Because I want to make sure that we're bringing you value and that you, we want to put as many tools in your hands as possible. But I want all of you, I challenge all of you this week, 2 things. 1, master your morning. And 2, focus your conversations on listings. Okay. And then I'll have some feedback on that next week. Emily?
For that workshop, could you possibly touch on, I don't know, maybe the difference between lead gen that's general and lead gen that is focused on listings?
Mm-hmm.
Like part of it being like a big part of it being like how to actually get them.
Yeah. And part of that, really change your conversations. Just quit talking about buyers. Remember the bold law? What you focus on expands. It's true. So focus your thinking, focus your conversations around listings. It starts with as simple as, instead of saying, do you know anyone that wants to buy or sell a house in the next year? Do you know anyone that's thinking about selling their home in the next year? Because guess what? If they don't, but they know someone that wants to buy, they're still going to tell you. but you're going to force them to think about people that have talked about selling. It starts that simply. You just have to get in the habit of doing it. But yes, we will put something together, and sometime in the next couple of months, we will come around and we will do that. And it'll be a multi-hour and actual work focused. And if we have your commitment to attend, we will put it together and make it happen.
I actually have a quick question.
Okay.
About Ignite. I saw on the checklist, it says that the Ignite, that are 20 sessions in Ignite. And I just finished session 15, and that's all the sessions that are on my website.
Yes.
What am I missing?
Sorry about that. Stay tuned. They should all be up by the end of the month. Over the next couple of weeks, you'll see the rest of them. We hit a glitch in some of the editing and coming around to do it and film it. And now we're trying to get them all done. So couple of you, like no one was catching up to us and we were great. And then a couple of you went full speed ahead, just like we asked you to.
Yeah, I am. I'm done. So sometimes, I don't know if you guys can see that in the portal, but sometimes it doesn't say, it looks like I only watched them half. It's like it doesn't save all my progress, even though I finished all of them. So yeah.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Yeah, just check them off as you finish them on your checklist.
Mhm.
Okay. And yes, we are almost back on track. And my husband, who does the editing, has been sick for a couple days, so he's lost a couple days. But our commitment is by the end of the month to have them fully completed. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thank you for all your input and conversation today. Go out there and master your morning and talk listings.